Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. My password is Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. I was told I needed 8 characters. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Last Light from Gray Fox Games. Last Light from Gray Fox Games is a spacefaring 4X adventure set in a universe where the light is dying out and various factions are competing to gain the last light. So each faction, of course, takes their own player board, which kind of represents their ships. They're each going to get their own set of action cards, which are identical. They're also going to take kind of an achievement to see how many kind of worlds that they can conquer of a certain color that will give them points. They select that secretly. And they also select a faction. Players are going to kind of be dealt out a couple of faction cards. They're going to select which faction they want to play. And each faction has kind of their own special and unique game powers in the game. So you get all that set up. You're also going to take a colony ship, a number of spaceships you've got, and you're also going to place one of your extractors on your colony ship. Now, you have resources in the game. You have the white common, the purple uncommon, and the gold rare. And how you kind of manipulate the resources in the game, how you extract those things, that's going to be a very crucial part of how you are going to try to win. Now, player spaceships, they actually start with a number of kind of small, medium, and large spaceships. They're going to start with one of the small spaceships on the board. You're also going to build your board. Now, the board has kind of an outer area, then it has kind of an outer ring and an inner ring. And then these rings all have kind of three-dimensional planets. They look like jawbreakers, marbles there. But you're going to go ahead and have those throughout the board, and they have certain colors associated with them, which, again, is going to be kind of important as you play the game. Now, as I say, each player faction has 6 player cards. Now, you are going to have a first player in the game, but that only kind of is important when you're trying to break ties because most of the game will be played simultaneously. Each player will play a card at the same time, and then they will go ahead and act on that card. They will carry out that card. And with the exception of one of those cards, which I'll speak about in a second, you can pretty much all just take care of that at the same time. Now, the first action card is Research. When you play a Research card, you can actually gain 1 light, victory point, for every 4 technologies that you currently have employed. Then you're going to draw 3 technology cards, select 2 to put in your hand, and 1 to return to the bottom of the deck. Then you can actually go ahead, and if you have the resources, you can pay to activate that technology. Now, some technologies kind of will be civilization technology cards you place in front of you. Some of them will be either ship upgrades or ship mods, which you attach next to the specific ships in your fleet, the large, medium, or small ships. Now, the second thing you can do is play your mine card. Now, when you mine, essentially you look at all the extractors you have on the board. Now, an extractor is usually either going to be on your colony ship. You've got room for 3 extractors on your colony ship, or it's going to be at a planetary location. Now, if you have a mine there, if you have an extractor there, that kind of denotes that you control that planet. And what you can do then is look and see on that planet what its mining resources are, and then you gain those resources from the supply. Next, you can play the Construct card. Now, if you have the Construct card, you can build any number of spaceships in the same space as the colony ship, but you have to be able to pay the resources for them. And, of course, the bigger ships are going to be more expensive than the smaller ships. Next, you can actually build an extractor. You can only build one extractor on the board. You can either build it on your colony ship if it's got empty spaces, or you can build it around a planet where you have spaceships. Once you build that extractor there, that kind of denotes that you control that planet. Next, you can play the trade card, and this allows you to do 2 trade actions. Essentially, you can either take a white resource from the supply. You could do that twice, or you can turn in 2 for a purple or 2 purples in for a gold. And as I say, you can do any of these actions twice. But then, critically, you must give from the supply 1 white resource, 1 common resource, to any other player that you choose. Next, you're going to have the refresh card, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But your 6th card is the command card. Now, generally, after everybody else is gone, you go ahead and you play your command card. Well, I mean, you play it first, but you kind of work it out after everybody else has resolved theirs. You can move all of your spaceships 1 space on the board. If they move into unexplored regions, you can take that kind of exploration token and see what effect you gain. You immediately gain that effect. Also, too, if you go into planets, you kind of reveal their kind of exploration token on the planet, and that may tell you gain something immediately, as well as what that planet will provide when it's mined. Now, if you move your spaceships into another space with another faction's spaceships, combat is going to ensue, and then you proceed to combat. Now, generally, each of your ships tell you what your range is, what your how many dice you're going to roll during combat, and kind of what your hit points are. So you go ahead, you roll those, and you see who wins and who loses. Now, critically, some of the mods and abilities of your spaceship will give you, again, special abilities during combat, or movement or what have you. Usually when you roll the die, if you get certain symbols, you can go ahead and turn those symbols into some of these effects that the technology gives you. Now, if you succeed in destroying an enemy ship, you can take that ship and place it on your graveyard card. And this means if that other player wants to build another one of those ships, but he doesn't have any left, he has to actually pay you those resources for him to get that ship back. If at any time you have 4 enemy spaceships on your card, you can simply return those to the owning players of those spaceships and immediately gain a light. Now, as I say, your 5th card is Refresh. So essentially, at any time when you're playing cards, all of these cards are going to stay down in front of you until you play the Refresh card. The Refresh card will allow you to grab all of those cards that you played and put them back in your hand. Any ships that have damage tokens, the damage is removed. Any technology cards that you've maybe flipped over, they are readied. Also, too, a refresh card allows you to collect 1 light for every unblockaded planet you have on the outer ring, and 2 light for every unblockaded planet you have on the inner ring. Your refresh card will remain on the table until everybody has played their refresh card. As soon as everybody has played their refresh card, that's the end of a round. Essentially, you're going to go ahead and move both the inner and the outer ring to its next level. So the board itself is going to shift, kind of like a lazy Susan there. Each player will collect 1 light per ship they have in the center of the board at that time. The first player token is passed to the player to the left, and then every player picks up their refresh card and puts it back in their hand. So players go around and around. They are playing their various cards. They are researching, trading, mining, moving, attacking, all sorts of things over the course of the game in order to gain more light tokens. As soon as one player has 20 or more light tokens, the game ends, and whoever has the most light tokens wins. Last light. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. Okay. So Last Light has it's been out for about a year or so now, and this is a game I've wanted to play ever since I first heard about it. This game, of course, is designed by Roy Cannaday of the Dice Tower. I think he's actually moving on. And best of luck to him. But he, of course, came up with this game. And I remember, like, when he was first talking about it on the Dice Tower, I thought it sounded like a lot of fun. Now, my second favorite game of all time, for a long time it was my first, but my second favorite game of all time is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. And that game in its various incarnations, has been around for a long time now, and people have always been trying to knock it down off of its throne by creating that same experience in a much smaller time scale. So you've got a lot of these kind of 4X space games that try to say, yeah, we do what Twilight Imperium does, but in much less the time. And Last Light claims to give this experience in an hour. Okay, I was very skeptical of that for a lot of reasons. And the thing of it is, I watched the Dice Tower. I like Roy. He seems like just a super guy. And so I want really to like this game, right? Going into it. But again, I'm skeptical. And we played the game, and I'll tell you right off the bat, it was our first game we played, I think, it was probably just shy of 2 hours. And there was a learning curve there for us. Not a big learning curve, but it was there. And we got a little hung up on a few rules, and I'll touch on that later. I imagine once you are more familiar with the game, once you get hum with the game, I don't know if 60 minutes is going to be what it's going to be, but not much longer than that. Maybe a little bit more than an hour. I could see 70 or 80 minutes being common with people that really know the game. So first off, I'll tell you, Twilight Imperium and Eclipse and some of these bigger 4X space games, I don't think they're in any danger of being displaced by Last Light. But if we look at Last Light as a game, just as itself, which is what we should do, right? I'll tell you right now, it's extraordinarily fun. We had a blast with it. I really like the simultaneous player actions. That to me was a lot of fun. I love games that cut down on, waiting around time and downtime. I love games that can do that and do that effectively. This game does it. You've got these, 6 simple cards. You're playing them each time, and it works and it hums and it does a really good job with the system there that it's created. And of course, you need to comment too on the aesthetic of the game, the 3D planet models. It's just beautiful. The way like I say, you've got that kind of lazy Susan board that kind of moves everything around. That is so cool. That is so much fun. I like that because, in any given time, your strategic situation is going to change. It changes several times throughout the game. And that's just fun. That's interesting, to think, okay, I've got this planet, this is my empire, I'm secure here, but then suddenly it's like, oh, well, now my guys are over here. So that's a lot of fun. I thought that brought a real new and interesting and fresh way to kind of look at a spaceships on a map game like this. So I thought that did a really good job there. Combat was fun. I like tech. I like the way tech worked and how it would upgrade your ships and give you certain advantages in combat. I thought that was just really fun. That's always one of my favorite things I like about kind of spaceship games like this is how your ships evolve, and they evolve differently, and you get different advantages and stuff like that. I think that is really cool, and they did a great job with that here. That was to me one of the highlights of the game was getting into ship combat and seeing what everybody's abilities and stuff were. They were very fun. But I like too the general competition for light. These of course are victory points, right? The light is the victory points, and you're trying to get it. And man, I felt like I was hopeless, but it's really fun as you play the game and you're searching for those avenues for victory, and everybody's trying to do those same things, so you get some real clashes there in the center of the board, which are just super fun, and we really got a kick out of it. Now, everybody liked this game. Everybody I played with really enjoyed it, said they really had fun with it. But there are a few caveats here. Number one, we're all kind of older geezers, and seeing some of the icons like on the exploration tokens around the planets, that was, if you're looking on the other side of the board, that was kind of hard sometimes to see those things visually. So I wish, I don't know, I wish there was some mechanism where those things would be a little bit brighter or a little bit easier to spot. Now, one of the things too is like with the technology cards, there were some questions about exactly what the timing was on some of those. It was a little ambiguous. Now, I'll tell you, this rule book, one of the great advantages, one of the great things about this game is it's got a really relatively small, easy to read, easy to get into rule book. One of the disadvantages about this is it's got a really small rule book that maybe doesn't give as many examples as maybe you're hoping for. And we kind of, a few times in the tech stuff, we're kind of bumping up against some of the the timing and some of the other language issues of the tech. So that was something we were not terribly wild about here either. Overall, however, those are kind of minor complaints in what honestly I think was just a delight. This was a great game. If I'd played this last year, it was a 2023 release. If I'd played it last year, it would almost certainly would have been on my top 10 games of 2023. It's stellar, if you'll pardon the pun. It's really fun, looks great, plays great, and it like I say, it's relatively quick. Our first game, it was kind of a while to get through it, but ultimately, I think again with more plays, this is one that's going to hum, and it's just a fantastic experience. I've really been thinking where I want to put this game, in the Cody scale. And I kind of kept going back and forth between an 8 or a 9 because of some of those caveats. But you know what? Dang it. I really had fun with this one. I love a good science fiction game. I love a good spaceships on a map game. And this does it very, very, very well. I love the mechanisms here. I love the card play and the simultaneous play. And I love the spaceships. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of kicking myself I didn't do the Kickstarter on this because some of those advanced things, if they ever, the deluxe edition sold out. I think if it ever comes back, I may have to pick up the deluxe edition because that's how much I like this. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give this one a 9. Really had fun with Last Light. I think it's fantastic. I think Roy hit it out of the park. And I have no problems recommending this to any gamers out there. Fantastic game. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please give us a thumb and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. We would really appreciate it. We'd also very much appreciate it if you would give us a thumb on Board Game Geek as well. If you really like what we do here, please check out my other channel. That is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, military history, books on history, stuff like that. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel as well. And if you do really like the content we bring to you here on The Discriminating Gamer, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, I just realized that I don't consider cottage cheese to be a typical cheese. It's just occurred to me. And I gotta tell you, if you play this game, it's like going on a Romulan holiday. Romulan holiday. You didn't think I was going to bring Dalton Trumbo back into it, did you?